goes to the future or actually gets abducted, and then they have to live an entire life and go back to the time when they were abducted. That's actually from people who believe in the secret space program. They also are into this super cyborgs and stuff like that. So that's what they're talking about. Just so people who are on there realize, because me and you've talked about that before, and I just wanted to put that out there so that everybody knows what you're talking about with that. Especially Tan. I bet you Tan's probably wondering what the hell's going on right now.
Yeah, which is cool. I'm just rolling with it.
Since they, like I was saying, that the abilities of what they had, it makes you wonder who constructed it to such an extent that from no machinery, no nuclear rods, but it generates large amounts of energy in the ground. And they're saying that this process was from a long time ago, from the past.
Now, exactly what place are you talking about? Like, cause I mean, it's supposed to have been like it's supposed to be an ancient place that they found. Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, it was in our time, but it was created for such a long period of time that they have said that there's no machine, there's no nuclear rods, but it generates large amounts of energy, and it's actually in the ground, but it's been there for a long time. They
That's
don't
what.
quite.
Well, what
It's like a nuclear power plant.
what is it exactly? Like you've I don't know.
Well, uh, well, they said where it was at, somewhere overseas, but that's the thing. But it's quite different. It's all in the ground, and they came across. I forget how they came across it, but they did. But it has a large amount of high energy to it, and they do not know how it produces it, or why, or how to shut it down.
I'll do a search, but
I
I
know.
don't think it's a geothermal energy. It relies on Earth's natural underground heat, which has been continuously generated since the planet's formed billions of years ago. Um, and that's what it comes up with, and powers everything from neighborhood heating to commercial electricity. Now, the source, the Earth's core, which is as hot as the surface of the sun, generates heat through a combination of planetary formation and the slow natural decay of radioactive materials deep underground.
Okay.
So, geothermal power plants use wells to bring naturally occurring underground hot water and steam to the surface. This steam drives turbines that generate constant baseline electricity 24/7 without relying on the sun or wind. Emerging tech is the next generation approaches like enhanced geothermal systems, EGS, and super hot rock drilling are expanding across to this endless underground power. Um, as a resident of, oh, that's mine. So, but that's what the search engines come up with: geothermal energy. So that's what you're talking about right there. I'm guessing.
Yeah, it sounds just like that. Because they're like the hot, lot of hot heat, and they didn't know how.
Okay, that's the closest I could come to it. So,
But
so this is a power source from a long time ago, and um, the beginning of the planet. So that's how they're doing it now. Are they? You said they're doing it now?
Well, no, they were investigating the how what's the function of it, because they didn't know how or what trigger what makes it active.
Okay, so this sounds like something you're going to have to do some more research with, because I doubt this has anything to do with time travel.
The, the 10 things I was curious about is when a person goes through the time thing, do they have like some kind of device or something for information?
The stuff that you actually pointed out that was I thought was going to be the topic was about in 2000, for example, this guy John Titor claimed to be a military time traveler from the year 2036.
For each parallel, where when times come, things change, and even in different types of timelines, each thing changes. The way it was from one to the other alters itself. Like different rules, different laws, different medicines, what works and what don't. You would lose your past if people is able to go and change things.
Now, I did run you a search on that one, and it came up with some pretty interesting stuff for you. Now, it says, like, in physics and science fiction, time travel affects parallel universes in one of two ways. Either it creates them or requires them to exist to avoid logic paradoxes. So you have too many, the many world interpretation, which is branching timelines. Then you have the multiverse buffer that's navigating existing realities. And then you have timeline convergence, the rubber band effect. So you got those options going on there. So when you're talking about a multiverse, where what you do now, if you go back in time, it could cause and it could affect it. That's what they're talking about.
Mm.
So that's actually pretty interesting, and they, there's also something that they've been talking about called the Gin particle, which is another interesting topic that you could get into. You know, the Gin particle is a theoretical term used in physics and philosophy to describe an object or a piece of information or a particle trapped in a closed time loop that has no clear origin or creator. It exists solely because it was brought from the future into the past, creating a cycle where it's never actually made or destroyed.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? And that was coined in 1992. It's a paper by a physicist named Andrei Losov, and there's actually two of them, Igor uh, Novikov. Now they named it after the jinn, which is the genies in Islamic folklore, because these entities are described as appearing out of nowhere and vanishing without leaving a trace.
Yeah, the gin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's another interesting thing right there that they're talking about too. It refers to a physical item that traveled back in time. It ages normally and is eventually sent back in time again. You know what I'm saying?
What, like a slingshot, back and forth.
Yeah.
Or
And that would go into what you were talking about before whenever I mentioned the thing about the super soldiers and the cyborg people who believe that they were turned into cyborgs and stuff like that. That's a lot of the ufology cults that believe in that.
hmm.
Yeah. Now, and like, there's a good example. Somewhere in Time is one. It's an elderly woman who hands a young woman a pocket watch, and um, then or a young guy, he hands him a pocket watch, and later travels back in time to like 1912 and gives that same watch to her when she was younger. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So it could be a watch, it could be a person, it could be anything.
Yeah, and they say too that a person at younger age can handle the time, going through the time would be a lot better than an adult. Something about the adult's mind supposedly can't handle too many time travel. A young mind can handle quite farther more of it.
Well, that right there actually, yeah, for me, I believe that it actually violates the second law of thermodynamics because, like, uh, an object, even if it does travel through time, it should age, it should rust, and it should also accumulate entropy till it finally decays into dust. You know what I mean? That's the laws of
Well,
thermodynamics.
they say time travel, like if you was, uh, I don't know, they say that if you was ever got caught, best way I could put it, like a time bubble where the time never ends, you're like stuck, you're there. You don't age and you don't go old, you don't die, but you're just living at a specific time.
Well, think about like Back to the Future. This is another form of the gin, the second kind for it basically. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The information is self-causing. It's its own origin. And Back to the Future would be the perfect one because like Marty, he travels back to 1955, and in the show he plays Johnny Be Good at a high school dance, right? So the character in it, Marvin Berry, he calls his cousin Chuck Berry up and plays the music over the phone. Well, Chuck Berry then writes the song. Okay, so the question is, who actually composed the music? Chuck Berry, um,
Mm. Yeah.
or Marty? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or did Marty write it? Because Marty actually got it from Chuck Berry.
Yeah. And that right there tells you that what happened is supposed to have happened, because if not, the time would change, or the outlook would, you know. I mean, you would change. They always say you take something and you alter the timeline, it changes, and
Well, it's something that's interesting to think about, you know. Well, I do find the gin particles is something interesting. Maybe not in the material part, you know, the physical objects,
hmm
but like when it comes to ideas and information, like music, like with that one, that actually is an interesting concept, you know, because the gin particles they allow they're they're allowed to exist because the timeline is fixed and unchangeable. That would be with the past, you know.
yeah. Well, and it's like the time thing too. Is like on Star Trek when Captain Kirk and them went back in time to get the well to save the future, right?
Uh huh.
And they had they rocket